Hi, welcome back to my little corner of the internet. This is where I play Pokemon trading card game on Tabletop Simulator. If you watched the first video, it was the qualifying match that I had. I'm going to have 3 in my little tournament where I've got 131 of decks that I own in real life with real life cards. And one of the comments that I got from a friend of mine said that maybe I should be a little bit more descriptive, maybe tell a little bit more about how the game works as I'm showing all the moves and showing everything that happens. So we are playing with the unlimited format where every card is available from no matter what set it's from, how old it is, if it's from the very first base set up until Crown Zenith, which is the current one. We're going to play all those different cards, but we also are going to play with a few extra rules. So all the normal rules are in place. With the deck building, you have 60 card deck. You can't have more than 4 cards of the same name. You have 1 active Pokemon that's attacking, 1 energy card per turn, 6 prize cards, all that stuff. You obviously knock out a Pokemon, you take a prize card, unless it says differently on the card, and when you take 6 prize cards you win the game. All that normal stuff is in place, but we are able to have a few additional house rules just to help balance things out, because of course if you watch competitive Pokemon play, they have about 30 trainers in a deck, and before you know it they've done an entire turn, they've shuffled through half their deck, and the game is over in about 2 turns. I don't like to play it that way. I like to play it a little bit more interesting and a little bit slower. So we've got the balanced rules under here. It means a starting player can attack on the first turn, which doesn't normally happen now. Any Pokemon EX cards from the previous eras, so lower EX cards, you'll see them when they show up, only yield 1 prize card. They used to be a lot more powerful, but cards have got more powerful as time has progressed. So now we only have them yield 1 prize card instead of 2. You'll see what I mean. This Mew X here is a new one, and he knocks 2 prize cards when you knock him out. We'll come to it. In our deck building, we're only going to have 12 trainer, supporter, tool or stadium cards allowed. There's a little additional thing for fossils. We'll talk about that more on decks that have them. And any potion card heals 30 now, which has been a rule for a while. But now that we've got that out of the way, let's show you the decks I'm going to use today. We're going to use a deck captained by Toucannon, who's a fantastic bird, and a deck captained by a Abomasnow. So let's have a look at these 2 decks. The Toucannon deck, this is an interesting deck because it's a triple type deck. It has 3 different types of energies in it: grass, psychic, lightning. That means sometimes it's hard to get things going, which is why we have Toucannon in here. Toucannon is a stage 2 bird, evolves from Pikipek, Trumbeak, and then into Toucannon. And of course he only uses colourless energy, so any energies count on him, comes in really handy. His bottom attack does 100 damage and can burn you if you get a heads. Fantastic move. Mew EX here. This is a new EX card, so you still get 2 prize cards when you knock him out. He has an ability that can use the attacks of any Pokemon in play, both yours and opponents, but you need the energy to use the attack. So in a triple type deck he comes in really handy, keeps the options open, and his attack means that you can move energy cards around and do whatever you want. Venomoth is brilliant because his Pokebody, if you damage him, if your opponent hits Venomoth, the opponent's Pokemon is asleep and poisoned. Obviously that means you might not be able, if you don't wake up, you can't attack. If you're poisoned, you take 10 damage per turn. That's crazy. And then of course, evolutions. I love saying evolutions, isn't it a great word? Evolutions. We've got 3 of them here that I'm going to show you, but there's actually 4 in the deck. There's an extra Espeon. This is Espeon Prime, but he's still an Espeon. He's just a normal Espeon. Again, not as strong as he used to, but he can use all Pokemon in play that evolve from Eevee as his own, as long as you have the necessary energy to use the attack. And Solar Ray removes 1 damage counter from each of your Pokemon. Of course, 1 damage counter equaling 10 damage. We have Jolteon here, great attacker. Even now, he's an older card, but even now at 80 HP he's still a great attacker with his bottom attack doing 70 damage. And agility, if you get a heads, you can't hit him the next turn. The next guy can't hit him for a turn. It's fantastic. He's a fast boy as well. He does not have a retreat cost. You can only retreat once per turn, but not having to pay any energy cost to retreat him is a fantastic thing. Leafeon here is a new boy, and his top attack, you can search for 3 basic energy cards, attach them to your Pokemon in any way you like as long as they're different types. And Leafy Cyclone, 120 damage. He's one of the most powerful boys in this deck. Now if you notice, I said before, all the decks I build in the game are built on a 1-to-1 scale with my cards. So when the good cards start to disappear, you have decks that are a little bit weaker. So if you love an underdog story, this is one of the decks for you. We have a Bomber Snow as the captain card. He's only got 100 HP. I don't think there's anyone over 100 HP in this deck, so we're already at a slight disadvantage, but he has some good stuff. He reduces damage by 20. He has Snow Play as an attack which can hit the bench Pokemon, and it does below 0, which can paralyze you if a Bomber Snow evolved during this turn. You can evolve, of course, as many times as you like during your turn. Piloswine, this is an older card, but I love these cards. It's a great card. He's from a Skyridge set, the E card set. That's why you have the different kind of side point. In real life, you used to be able to scan these cards somewhere. I'm not sure where, but there was a little thing, I think it was on a Game Boy. It was really cool. And I love the art style. Like, look at the difference in the art style. He looks like he's a little claymation kind of thing going on. But again, he does some good moves. He can paralyze you or send you to sleep, and he can hit the bench. He's an older card, so he needs more energy to do less damage. I don't use him as much. That's why he's in one of the lower decks, but I still love him. And then Quagsire. I love my Quagsire cards. This water one here on the side can do Mud Shot, 60 damage, and can hit the bench as well. And this fighting type one has a Pokebody that reduces attacks from evolved Pokemon by 20, so I know it's a stage 1, stage 2, and Rock Hurl move isn't affected by resistance. So obviously if you notice right here, Toucannon is resistant to fighting Pokemon. He will take 20 less damage from a fighting type Pokemon, but this boy will go through that. It's not affected by the resistance. That sort of move can really come in handy when you've only got to take out about 20 more damage on a Pokemon. That's the sort of thing that you need. So now that we've gone through that, we're going to get ready to have a game. I'm just going to set things up and put people in the right places. So bear with me just a moment. I always put my decks up here. We've got a new dice today as well for the coin flip. So the guy that does the damage counter, he's also got this dice here. It's got Pikachu heads and Pikachu tails for the dice, which is really cool. So we're going to just shuffle the decks and we're going to draw our opening hands. We draw 7 per hand. We need a basic before to start the game with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. We've got a basic, and I can count to 7 this time, unlike in the last game. So we've got 2 basic Pokemon, Eevee and Pikipek, which are the basic evolution to the bird that I showed you before. So we're just going to draw 7 on this side. 1, 2, we've got a basic, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay, so we've got 3 basics on each side. We're going to put down the prize cards. As I said before, if you knock out your opponent's Pokemon, you take a prize card, and you win when you've either taken all prize cards or when you have no Pokemon left, when your opponent doesn't have anyone left to play. So we're going to put prize cards down. And we're going to see, I don't know, who do you want to win? Do you want the Toucannon deck to win, or are you rooting for the underdog? If you're rooting for the underdog, let me know. I love an underdog story myself. But we're just going to put Pokemon down. Now, normally, in the game right now, you would flip a coin, and if you win, you get to choose if you start first or second, and then you put your card down, put it face down, or whatever. I think that's how it works. I don't play that way. I play like we used to play back in the 2000s, back in my day. So... so I'm going to just play the cards that I think is the right thing to do. And as I said in the last video, I'm going to try and put myself in the mindset of not knowing what the other deck has in their hands. But what I do know is that that deck is half fighting. So as I mentioned before, weakness and resistance is a big thing. Eevee is weak to fighting types times 2. It's going to take double damage. The Pikipek is resistant. by 20. He's going to take more time to power up because his top attack doesn't actually cause any damage. However, he's resistant to fighting, so I think he's the option I want to bring in first. And we put Eevee on the bench. On this side, we have Snover. Snover's a cool card. He can send you to sleep, but we don't have any water energy. We just have fighting energy, although we do have an energy search that we can play to search for one. However, I'm not going to play Snover because I have this boy. I have Piloswine right here, who evolves from Swinub or Swinub, however way you want to word it, and we're going to play this. Again, if I don't know what's in the other guy's hands, if I'm going to choose between two different Swinubs, I'm going to choose the fighting type one. By the way, the reason they're different types is because in the actual game, Swinub is ground type and ice type, and in the Pokemon card game, this is how they show up. So sometimes it's one, sometimes it's the other, but it's all basically fighting type in the trading card game. But again, I don't know what the other deck's got, so I'm going to start with the Swinub on here because I think he's a good choice. So we're going to flip a coin. And if it's heads, we're going to start with the two cannon side. And if it's tails, we're going to start with the Abomasnow side. So let's see what we get. Oh, that's gone flying. But it's a heads. Pikachu looks a bit shocked. But we'll start on this side. So at the beginning of every turn, we draw our card. We've just got Trombeak. Trombeak evolves from Pikipek. That's a great start. We're not ready for him yet because he needs 3 energy. So we are nowhere near ready for him yet. We're going to keep him in reserve. In the meantime, let's put on some Psychic Energy on Pikipek. I'm not going to use the Grass Energy because I've got Leafeon here that evolves from Eevee. And in a triple type deck, you have to be careful about what type of energy you're using. So we'll just put a Psychic Energy on him. You can only put 1 in per turn, and we can't really do send back. Well, we can send back. We'll make the opponent switch their active Pokemon with one of their bench Pokemon. But let's look over here. I don't want him to switch because he's got a fighting type. I don't want him to switch. I'm resistant to him. So we're just going to end the turn there. We put an energy card down. We're happy. So we're going to draw a card on this side. We've drawn a Pokeball, which means if I get a heads, I can search my deck for a Pokemon and put it into my hand. We're not going to go with that just yet. We've got everything we need for the time being. We're going to put a fighting energy on the Swinub. We're not going to play our hand too early. We're going to save this energy search because at some point we're going to need to go and get a water energy to do Piloswine's top attack over here. I don't know how he sees. He looks like a beetle. You know, the Beatles with the hairdo. I don't know. No offense to anyone who loves the Beatles. I love the Beatles. They're great. But we're going to play. We could play tackle, but we're not going to because he's resistant anyway. It's not going to do any damage. 10 minus 20. He's not going to do anything, is he? So we're just going to leave it there. Again, we're not playing our hand too early. We're just getting him ready for the Piloswine. So here we go. We've drawn another Eevee on this side. It's a great card to have. Now, you can't evolve a Pokemon the first turn he comes into play. So I can't put Leafeon on this Eevee, but I can on this one. Again, I'm not ready to do it yet anyway, but it's always an interesting thing to note. What I can do is, because Pikipek has now been in play for more than one turn, I can evolve to Trombeak. And I said earlier I'm not ready for Trombeak. But we can take a risk, and I'm going to do it anyway. Because, I mean, look at him. He looks fantastic. He has an ability called Charging Trumpet, which when you play the Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, you can look at the top 3 cards of your deck and put any basic energy cards you find near to your Pokemon in any way that you like. You shuffle the other cards back into your deck. This kind of ability is fantastic. Like I said, you can only normally put on 1 energy card per turn, and with Trombeak, you can do 3 if you get 3. That's phenomenal, and it really helps accelerate the energy, puts you in the driver's seat. So we'll evolve him. You can evolve as many times as you want, but you can't evolve somebody you've just evolved or just put into play this turn. But we are going to do his ability. So 1, 2, 3. Oh, we didn't even get 1. We didn't even get 1. We got his evolution, but we have to shuffle them back in because none of them are energy cards. So hey ho, never mind. But what we'll do is we'll play the lightning energy onto him, and we can't do anything yet. He's still resistant to fighting types, which is exactly the kind of thing we need, so it wasn't as much of a risk as it might normally be. But he's not ready. He's not ready to go yet. So we're going to pass the turn along as well. So a lot of setup going on right now. So we're going to draw an energy for the water energy for our turn. So draw a card at the start of each turn. And I mean, why not? We'll put him on this guy here. But like I said, there's no point at the moment doing anything. We don't need to rest. We don't need to send him to sleep or anything. I've just realised a thing that is going to be a problem now that... So I'm actually going to take this back. Normally, we wouldn't be able to do that, but I've just thought about it. I'm going to take the water energy back, because I don't think that's the move I want to do. Because 50 damage is going to knock out the swine up, isn't it? So what I'm going to do... Well, actually, I am going to put it on. I'm going to evolve the pillar swine straight away. That's what we're going to do. So we'll keep the water energy on him. So I'm being very indecisive. But we're going to evolve to the pillar swine. We're evolving one turn early, but that is so that he can take a hit. Because otherwise, as you saw, 50 HP, he'll knock him out. And then everything we're doing is for nothing. So we're going to evolve the pillar swine, but we're not going to do anything. We're just going to pass along for turn. So very slow start to this match, but we're going to draw a card over this side. We've drawn another picky peck, put him on the bench. 5, of course, on the bench is your maximum. So nothing else we can do there. And we're going to put the other psychic energy on the Trombeak. And finally, we're going to do an attacking move. Drill Peck for 50 damage. So there we are. 50 damage on Pillar Swine over here. And yeah, that's a really good move. He's weak to metal. There's no metal Pokemon in this deck, so nothing to worry about there. But we have our first move. And if you attack, of course, that's the end of the turn. So we're going to draw another card. We've drawn a Crystal Shard Pokemon tool card, which you attach those to your other Pokemon, and if you do that, the Pokemon becomes a colourless type for that turn. Really helpful card actually for getting around weaknesses and resistances. That's what I find. But we don't need to use it right now because he's now a water type. He's no longer resistant. That card would have been fantastic a turn ago, and still might come in handy in this game anyway. But first of all, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do put an energy card on him. So there we go. We do still have the energy search if we run out of energy now, because there's none in our hand. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. But we have one colourless, one water, and we have 2 energies to pay for the colourless attack. So we can do Blizzard, which does 40 damage, and we flip a coin. If heads, it does 10 damage to all of your opponent's bench Pokemon, and if tails, it does 10 damage to each of my bench Pokemon. So we'll start with the 40 damage on Trombeak. There we go. We're just going to flip the coin. Please say it's a head. Oh, it's a tails! That's not what we want. So as you see with tails, 10 damage to each of my bench Pokemon. So we're just going to carry these across. Even if you're knocked out on the bench, it's still a prize card. Even if you knock yourself out, your opponent gets a prize card. But that's the attack. And honestly, this deck looks like it's in a bit of trouble anyway. So we're going to draw a card start of the turn. We've drawn a Minun, or Minun, I don't know however you like to call him. And we'll pop him on the bench. He's a pretty cool card. Actually, he's from a promo set called the Pokemon Organized Play. I actually bought those those cards off eBay or Amazon, I think it was, quite a while ago. But they're cool cards. I love them. So we'll put a Grass Energy card on Eevee. Trombeak is now powered up, so we don't need to worry about anything else. We'll pop the Leafeon on Eevee. This deck doesn't have any hand now. We'll get another card next turn. But Leafeon here is now starting to get pumped up on the bench. And Trombeak can just play the same move again. 50 damage for Drill Peck. It's a really good stage 1 if I'm honest with you. And we're going to just hit Pillar Swine for 5 damage. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 100 damage. All of his 100 HP is used up. Bye bye Pillar Swine. So he is out of here. We put them in a discard pile over here. Put them in the discard pile. And this deck, this side, gets a prize card. It's a Plusle. Okay, that's a cool Plusle. We'll come back to that in just a moment. But what are we going to do here? We have 2 Pokemon here. We have the Snover, who can send you to sleep. And we have the Swinub, who for 1 energy can just get a card out from the discard pile if you get a heads. I think we've got to go with Snover. So we're going to play him. We do have the energy search, and we're going to need it. So energy search allows us to search our deck for a basic energy card and put it into our hand. So here we go. Let's play that card. It goes straight in the discard pile, and we can search for an energy card. I'm going to get a water energy card. So now we've done that, we shuffle our deck. And the reason I'm doing this is I'm going to put the water energy card onto Snover, and I'm going to play Powder Snow. It does 10 damage, but the big thing is it sends the other guy to sleep. And if you're asleep, you can't attack. So we're going to show you how this works. 10 damage, Powder Snow. Send Trumbeak to sleep. So here we are, 10 damage, and now he's asleep, okay? So there we go. We flip a coin. If I get a heads, you always do this check in between turns every time. If I get a heads, I wake up. If I get a tails, I'm asleep. That was not a good flip. Let's do that again. There we go. It's a tails. So he's still asleep. So there's only a few ways we can deal with this now. He cannot attack. He cannot retreat. The only ways to deal with it is if you have a trainer card, like a switch or a full heal, or if you evolve him. And if you evolve, you heal from all special conditions when you evolve, unless otherwise stated. So let's draw a card at the beginning of the turn. It's a lightning energy. Okay. I said I'd look at the Ploozle. This Ploozle is fantastic. He does a move that does 20 damage, but if one of the minions use an attack during the last turn, it does 100 more damage. The Spark Duo thing, which is why we have these guys in this deck. So we're going to put him on the bench anyway. We're not ready for that, but that's a strategy that we can have in the background, just waiting to go. We'll put a lightning energy on Leafeon because he only needs 1 grass and 2 of any type to do his bottom attack, which is insane power. But we can't do anything else. Trumbeak is asleep. He can't attack. He can't retreat. So it's between turns. We're going to end a turn. We're going to flip the dice again, flip the coin. It's still tails. My boy is still asleep. Dude, for a dude that plays the trumpet, you're really staying asleep for quite a while, aren't you? I thought he'd be a bit louder. Let's draw a deck. We've got a Wooper. We've got, I love him. He looks like Kung Fu Slime. He looks like he's doing a big kick. I love him. He's fantastic. He's an older card from EX Unseen Forces. It was one of my favourite sets. I always use this Wooper and the corresponding Quagsire. But again, we haven't really got anything. We haven't got a energy card to play or anything like that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to play one of these Pokeballs. They've got different designs, but they're the same card. You flip a coin, you get a heads, you search for a Pokemon. Any Pokemon you like, which is fantastic. So I'm going to play one. I got a tails. Okay, I'm going to play the second one. I'm going to get a heads. Now I'm going to get a tails. So I can't go looking for the Snover's evolution, which is what I wanted to do. I got some really bad luck there. So what I'll do is I will play Powder Snow again. 10 damage and asleep. We're just going to chip away at Trumbeak, really, hopefully. But he's awake. Okay, we've got a heads. That was the flip for the asleep. And as you can see, the shocked Pikachu head. So he's awake now. So let's draw a card. We have a stadium card called Training Court. And once during each player's turn, you can put a basic energy card from your discard pile into your hand. Stadium cards, you just play them onto the field and the effect is active for both players until someone else plays a different stadium card. But there's no point playing this right now because, as you can see, the discard pile is empty. There's no energy cards in there, and all I'm doing is I'm going to help the other side. So I'm not going to play that right now. What I will do is I will play the Draw Peck. I mean, he's only got 20 HP left, so he's almost knocked out. However, 50 damage is still a lot of damage compared to what anyone else here can do, and it's going to knock out the Snover. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See you later. Thanks for playing. So Snover's knocked out. This deck is really in a horrible situation. We're going to draw another prize card. Interviewers' questions. That's actually really good for this deck as well, and I'll show you that in just a moment. But right now it's time for this deck to have a turn. I want to save the Wooper. I showed you the old Pillar Swine that's in this deck. He's the only one that's left because we've used the other one. So he's not as strong as you might expect. So I'm going to try and hopefully get something to power up this Wooper because I've got 4 Quagsires. I've got more chance of getting a Quagsire than the Piloswine, and the Quagsire will give me a better chance. So let's draw a card. It's a Mienshao. Okay, this is one of the Pokemon I haven't talked about in this deck yet. He evolves from Mienfoo. I don't have the basic, so right now, that doesn't help me. The Crystal Shard Pokemon Tool card doesn't help me. Even if I attach it to Swinub, it's not going to do anything. I have no energy. I can't do anything. I have to just pass the turn along. So let's draw a card. It's a Grass Energy. Okay, that's going straight on Leafeon. But I am going to play this supporter card. So this was our prize card that we picked up. It's called Supporter. It's called Interviewers Questions. One of the rules with supporter cards, and you can see it here, you can only play 1 supporter card each turn. When you play this card, put in it to your active Pokemon. When your turn ends, discard this card. I always just discard it because it's just quicker and easier that way. I know I've used a supporter in the turn. You know it. It's all recorded anyway. But it's a great card for a deck like this because you have to be so careful with your triple types where you've got 3 different energy types. This has look at the top 8 cards of your deck, choose as many as you like, and put them into your hand. This is a great card. So we've actually we finally got something in our discard pile. Look at that. So I'm just going to put this to one side for a second. And we're going to bring out 8 cards. 1, 2, we're looking for the energies. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, we got 5 energy cards. That's fantastic. We can keep all 5 of those. So we'll shuffle the rest into our deck. Obviously, we keep the one that was already in our hand. But let's shuffle these. And look at that. This is fantastic. This is what we needed. So we've already put an energy card down this turn. So we can't do anything else. On energy-wise, at least. But we have now got much more energy to power up everyone else. We're probably going to power up these battery boys on the ends of our bench here, the battery bookends, if you will. So we're going to play this Drill Peck again, 50 damage, and it's going to knock out Swinub. We might not even need to power up anybody else. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the end of Swinub as well. It's not looking good, is it? I think this game might be over fairly soon. Our prize card gets another Lightning Energy, and now of course we have to bring up Wooper. We have to have a Pokemon in the active spot. There he is. We've just drawn Mienfoo. Okay, so Mienfoo, the basic Pokemon to Mienshao. We're going to put him on the bench. This is potentially just prolonging the inevitable at this point, but we're going to do it anyway. We can't retreat Wooper. I would love to retreat Wooper if I could, but he's got 1 retreat cost, 1 energy. You have to discard an energy, you have to pay to retreat him. I don't have any energy on him. As you can see, the energy counter is blank. There's no energy on him whatsoever. So I can't do anything. I can't save him or anything like that. What I'm probably going to hope for is that I draw something to get an energy card next turn. I don't know. I really don't. It's the most ridiculous thing in the world. So we're going to pass. There's nothing else we can do. So on this side, we'll draw a card to start our turn. It's a trainer card, Pokedex, handy 910. That says to look at the top 2 cards of your deck, choose one of them and put it into your hand, and put the other card on the bottom of your deck. So I don't really need to play that right now. It is a good card, so I'm going to play it just to show you guys how it works. But you look at the top 2, so we get a Grass and a Psychic Energy. I've got 2 Grass and 1 Psychic in my hand already, so I'll choose the Psychic card. The Grass Energy goes back on the bottom of my deck. We don't shuffle. It does not tell us to shuffle, so we don't. And what we'll do is we'll start powering up the Plusle. He only needs 1 energy of any type because of the colourless energy cost, and that's exactly what you need. So, again, Trumbeak is doing all the work. He's just doing like do. He's just doing his thing. He looks like he's having a great day. Look at him. Look at him. He's flying. He's trumpeting. He's calling the hounds or whatever you want to call it. But 50 damage on Wooper because he's going to do the same attack, the Drill Peck. And he's just going to hit him for 50 damage. That's going to knock out the Wooper. We're going to draw another prize card, 2 more knockouts, and this deck will win. So there we go. We have to bring up a card for the active spot. It's the Mienfu. I really hope you guys weren't looking for an underdog story, because it's not going to work. We got a water energy card. Okay. Well, we're going to play that on Mienfu anyway. We are then going to put Mienshao on and evolve him, because Mienfu was in play last turn, so we can now evolve him. We can't do the top attack for 2 reasons, actually, because one is not the right type of energy. He needs specifically a fighting type energy, but also Aero Turn returns the Pokemon and all cards attached to it to your hand, which would include the energy card. But that would mean there would be no Pokemon in play. This side wouldn't have anybody in play at that point, so you'd be screwed, wouldn't you? There'd be nothing left to do, and it would be the end of the game. So for 2 reasons we can't play that, but the bottom attack uses 2 energy of any kind, so I'm hoping we'll get something next turn. It's a slim chance, isn't it? But again, this deck, we can't do anything. The underdog story is not going very well at all, and we're going to draw a card on this side. So here we go, we're past the turn. We've got a good rod, which means if I get a heads on a coin flip, I can search for discard pile for a Pokemon, or if it's tails, I search for a trainer card and put it on top of my deck. I don't need to do that. There's only 2 cards in the discard pile anyway, so I don't need to do that. What I can do is I can win the game here, because we're going to talk a little bit about the retreat costs. It's 1 retreat cost here. You see he's got 1 energy on the retreat cost, so you just need to pay an energy card. You need to discard an energy card to retreat him. That's what I'm going to do. You can only retreat once per turn, so do keep that in mind. But I'm just going to put these to the side for a second. And when you retreat your Pokemon, you bring up somebody else to be your active Pokemon. It works the same way as in the Pokemon games when you switch out, kind of thing. So, and of course the damage goes with him as well. However, Leafeon can hit for 120 damage. Leafy Cyclone. Or what? I don't think I'm going to be good at sound effects if I'm honest with you guys. But Leafy Cyclone hits for 120 damage, and that's it. There you go. He's got more damage on him than he has HP. So he goes into the discard pile with his energy cards. They do actually pick up the prize card. It's a Venonat, but because there's nobody left on this side, there's no one left to play, that's it. It's game over. The 2-cannon deck sweeps the board and wins the entire thing. My poor underdog deck didn't even get a chance. Let's have a look at what the prize cards were. Oh look, there's my old Piloswine. I hope you enjoyed seeing him, because you're not seeing him for a little while until I rebuild my decks again and do another one of these. But yeah, so there we are. That's that game right there. I just want to say a huge thank you to everybody who watched the first video and everybody who was going to watch this video. I noticed a few comments, someone commenting about, remembering that the decks used to be a lot more like this in the old theme decks, and that was when I started playing, way back in 2004, 2005. I started playing. I'm showing my age a little bit over here, but that's when I started playing, and you had a lot less trainer cards. You go out now, you buy a League Battle deck, which I got the Shadow Rider Calyrex, one of those. It's fantastic, but you've got so many more trainer cards in them, so many less energy cards in them. This is how decks used to be built. If they were still built this way, you might see theme decks looking a bit like this, and I've always played that way, and I'm just a creature of habit at this point, so I've kind of built the decks around it that kind of way. And that was a really cool comment. Someone else was wanting to see more Lopunny, I think it was. So Lopunny is in a deck. He will show up at some point, I promise. And obviously also Charizard is noted in one of the comments too. I've got a really good Charizard deck coming up. But for now, that's the end of this particular round of the tournament. I hope you all really enjoyed it. That's the end of this match. Sorry, not this round. There's one more qualifying match to go. But I hope you enjoyed this. It was a lot of fun. I hope it made a bit more sense to people. A bit more easy to follow. And yeah, I'm just sad I didn't get to show you 2-cannon, because he's one of my favourite cards at the moment. And but this deck will be coming back, so you will get a chance to see it in action one more time. So thank you very much, and as always, a big thank you to the mod creators, the Steam Workshop mod creators who made the flex table, the Pokemon trading card game, the energy counter, everything like that. Fantastic. You know, it's just the most awesome thing, and it allows me to do what I'm doing right here. So thank you very much for watching. Hopefully I will see you on the next video. Tell me what you thought to this match. Did it make a bit more sense? Can you follow it okay? What would you have done differently? Is there any Pokemon you really like to see in this match? You know, would you enjoy seeing anybody specifically? Let me know. I'd love to see what people think. And yeah, thank you so much. Have a lovely, wonderful rest of your day.